Welcome to the next installment of our Hello World project. In this little mini side project, we're going to take a very broken app and we're going to see how to diagnose the problems that most of us have already seen in our own apps, gain a little practice at how to fix them. Okay, so before we get started, it's useful to see what the app should look like if it runs properly. So this is not something that you will do. Just watch this portion of the video, sit back and relax, and you'll hear a couple of very not funny jokes. So first, when the program starts, I have a sort of a joke here at the top. And then I have a button that when I click it will reveal the punchline to the joke. So I'll click the button and it says 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights make a left. And then I have a new button appears that says tell me another one. So this of course represents the punchline to the joke. This represents the joke itself. This is the reveal punchline button. And then down here I have a button that when I click it will make the punchline go away, give me a new joke text, and then also change the title of the reveal punchline button so it fits the joke. I am a nobody. Nobody is perfect. Therefore, I am perfect. And then if I click tell me another one, I just see the same thing over and over again. Okay, this is how this app is supposed to work. Now, at this point, we're going to switch over to how you download the broken project, and then we'll get started. Okay, on the website, when you view the Hello World Challenge number 3 broken app links here, it won't be red like this. It's red because I'm going forward into the future and the assignment isn't visible to you yet. Click the broken compressed zip download link and it will very quickly download the project. And if you're using Chrome, you can click this little down arrow and then go to show in Finder. Down arrow, show in Finder, click, and it will open a window. Inside the window, you should see broken.zip somewhere in your downloads folder. Double click the zip file and it will uncompress the file, revealing a folder. Double click the folder icon and inside that folder you should see broken.xcodeproj, which stands for Xcode project. Go ahead and double click that to open the project in Xcode. When you do, you're going to see a window that looks something like this. I'm going to make my window here, fill my visible space. Okay, so the first thing you may notice is that I can't see my actual project and code. So I'll focus in here. In order to actually make it so you can see your project, make sure that this blue folder icon is already selected. Then click this small disclosure arrow right here next to the broken project icon. And you'll see a list of folders. One of those folders will have the same name as the project itself. Click the disclosure arrow next to that folder, and then you'll see a list that should be familiar. Click main storyboard just once, and now we have our storyboard open. But we want to actually see our code window also, so we're going to go over here to our show assistant editor button right here. Click, and now we've got our code window. Now, interestingly, all things look okay here. If I look at my project, everything looks like it's wired up. There are no errors, so it seems like I should be able to run it and run my project. Let's see what happens, though. And most of you have probably seen a screen that looks something like this when you run your project. This disheartening little screen here that tells you that something is very wrong. So let's first remember, how do we first get it back so we can see our storyboard? And to do that, again, we're going to make use of, in the top left corner here, this little folder icon. When I hover over it, it says show the project navigator. Click project navigator. Then come down here and click Main Storyboard. And now I've got my storyboard visible again, and I've got my code window next to it. Now, I want to be able to read my code a little bit easier, so I'm going to shrink this up so that all of my code fits nicely. All right, so now we need to start investigating what seems to be the problem. So if I hover over these black dots, it lights up the thing that it's connected to, and it says joke label outlet. Well, does this look like my joke label? It certainly does. So that seems like my name here is good. My connection appears to be good. But let's do a little further investigating. Right-click on your project here, and you may need to resize the window that pops up here. So it might start off really small, might start off really big. Grab the bottom corner here and drag it until you can read all of the text in it. Now, it's very small, so I'm going to magnify it here. And I'll recenter it in the screen. Okay, so I'm dealing with a joke label outlet here. Outlets should only ever have one referenced outlet. For some reason, I have 3 here. Apparently, at some point, I must have named it Q label and connected it, and then changed my name, my mind, and thought there was a better label. So I'm going to get rid of this connection because it clearly isn't right. Now I have to decide which of these 2 remaining outlets seems like it's the right one. Is this a joke label outlet, or is this 2 wrongs label outlet? Well, the text 2 wrongs does match the text of the label. But remember, this text changes to be another joke. So which name is more descriptive? Joke label outlet or 2 wrongs label outlet? Only one of these applies no matter what text is on the label. So I'm going to get rid of 2 wrongs label outlet, which probably seemed like a good idea at one point also, but doesn't really make sense anymore since it actually represents a joke label, not necessarily just the 2 wrongs joke label. All right, so I'm going to close that up. So now it's only wired up to 1 connection. All right, so let's look at the next thing. I've got reveal punchline label. And when I hover over it, notice that my button here is highlighting, which probably means this is the thing it's supposed to be connected to. And sure enough, it says reveal punchline label button outlet. This name here is very descriptive. When I click this button, what's it supposed to do? It's supposed to reveal punchline, but this is the label for the button. Okay, so what do I want to do? Well, I want to right-click it and investigate again. Now, let's look at our connections here and decide which of these many connections make sense. There should only ever be one action wired up to a given button. So the question becomes, if I look over here, what action makes sense? Does an action called another button exist? Well, here are my 2 actions. One is called reveal punchline, and one is called another joke. Neither of those is another button, so I'm going to get rid of that one. How about button action? Again, there's no action called that, so I'm going to get rid of this. And that just leaves one, reveal punchline button action. Is there such a thing? There is, so that looks good. And now, once again, I somehow wound up with a whole host of outlets here. Is there an outlet that says, these are my outlets, is there a button, is there an outlet called button? Well, there is, but that's so generic. Does it really make any sense? It's not a good label, so let's get rid of that one. And then I've got one called My Button. Well, I don't see anything called My Button over here, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And then I've got one that says Reveal Answer Label Button. Well, I've got something that says Reveal, but it says Reveal Punchline. So again, there's no matching outlet, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And now I'm down to one action and one outlet for this button, which is all I should ever have. So I feel pretty good about moving on to the next thing. All right, so punchline label outlet. Okay, so you can't really see it here, but if you click on it, it might become visible. And here I have a punchline label. Once again, I highlight and I can see that these two things are supposed to be connected. But what do you think I'm going to find if I right-click on it and investigate? Well, I've got punchline label outlet, which is what I was supposed to have right here. See, punchline label outlet. But I've also got something that says two wrongs. And again, this is probably a holdover from an earlier version when I didn't name my outlet very well. So I'm going to get rid of that connection. Okay, and now button. Well, at this point, I've got a white dot. So I'm going to come back to this one because I'm not sure what it's supposed to be wired up to. Maybe it's not supposed to be wired up to anything. All right, and then I've got tell me another one. Let's see. Oh, and sure enough, there we go. This is another joke button outlet. Let's see what it's connected to. And so this is, again, this is an action. So it can have an outlet and an action. But how many actions does it have? For some reason, it has two actions. So is there something called another joke button action? There is. It's right here. Another joke button action. Is there something called button action? Well, I don't see anything called button action, so I'm going to get rid of that action and keep the one that matches the actual action I have here. Next, I look at my outlets. Another button. Do I have anything that says another button here in my list of outlets? And I don't, so I'm going to get rid of that one. Another joke button outlet. Well, do I have another joke button outlet? It looks like I do. So I think this one is now correct. I'm going to close that. Alrighty. Now I hover over this. This action is tied to this button. That looks good. This action is tied to that button. That looks good. So now what I want to do is see if I run my app, will it in fact run? Because the one thing I still don't know is this outlet doing anything, or is it just a leftover that I should get rid of? If my app runs, I probably can get rid of this outlet. Okay, two wrongs don't make a right, but three rights make a left. Tell me another one. I am nobody, nobody is perfect, therefore I am perfect. Tell me another one. My app runs, it does what it's supposed to, which means, what can I say about this outlet? I don't actually need it. And here's my completed project. Hopefully you were able to follow this tutorial from beginning to end, and your app is now running correctly. If it isn't, here's what you're going to do. You are going to quit Xcode, quit your simulator, go to your downloads folder, delete the broken folder, move it to the trash, double click on the broken.zip icon again, and then you're going to restart this video and try following the steps again from the beginning. Good luck.